Hola everyone, welcome to Open Hybrid, coming to you from Chat Executive Suite. I'm Rhina, your host of Café con Leche every Friday, and here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to Evelina's 100 Culture and Arts Committee co-chair, Wally Edgecombe, and artist Maria Dominguez to discuss the upcoming Evelina Centennial Celebration Art Exhibition. Then we'll be joined by writer, poet, and author Janeth A. Benjamin. She highlights father-daughter relationships in her new book, I Am My Father's Daughter. Later on in the show, Bobby C. brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on singer-songwriter and musician Janeth A with a performance at the end of the show. So let's sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Hey everyone, welcome to Open Hybrid. I'm Rhina, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, coming to you from Chari Executive Suite. Todavía inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, follow moi on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So as we continue to share awareness of the Evelina Centennial Celebration, honoring the life, work, and leadership of Dr. Evelina Antonelli, and what would have been Evelina's 100th birthday, the celebration is scheduled to feature concerts, art, exhibitions, music, and so much more across the city and Puerto Rico. And joining us to share more on the Evelina's art exhibition, Images of Evelina, is curator Wally Edgecombe and participating artist of Images of Evelina's art exhibition, Maria Dominguez. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Rhina. How are you?
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Always, always, always. This is a really, really exciting event. So last week we had Nidia just sharing the overall agenda from September 12th until the 19th. And so we're here to talk about specifically the visual arts component, the art exhibition. And so Wally, it looks like they took you out of retirement to become the curator. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I did come out of retirement. I'm a little rusty, but I'm getting it done. And the artists, Maria and everybody, have been really patient and cooperative. So it's working fine.
Well, just give us a little background on how you were able to decide the artists and what, I guess, criteria were needed to be met in order to be a contributing artist to this particular exhibition.
Yeah, well, we wanted artists that either knew her or were influenced by her. And, she was a mentor of so many people, but of a lot of artists. Of course, she mentored elected officials, public officials, etc. But she also mentored a lot of artists, visual and performing artists. So it wasn't too difficult to get some people who knew her or were influenced by her, and were, knew about her history.
And so, Maria, welcome. It's so nice to have you on, Maria Dominguez. She's a very, very well-known artist within our community. Let's talk about your inspiration behind your piece called Yo Soy de Aquí of Evelina.
Well, first of all, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much. It is a complete honor. And Wally, thank you also for asking me to be here. Well, Evelina came to me through Hostel's celebration of the Centennial. And I knew that she was the sister of Elba. I heard of what a powerhouse she was in the Bronx. I went to see the exhibit Las Tres Hermanas. So I knew this person was very, very important in the Boricua community in the Bronx. However, when I started reading articles about her, it transformed. I said, oh my God, how come we didn't learn about this woman in school? How come children don't know about this woman? So I went around telling everybody about Evelina Antonelli, Dr. Evelina Antonelli. So I got inspired mostly by where she was born. She was born in Salinas, in Puerto Rico. Salinas is a coastal town. So immediately I looked for pictures of Salina and it looked splendid. I said, this just this beautiful sea, aqua marine sea. But I didn't want it to look crashing. I wanted it to look subtle. I wanted to be a background for her. And then I said, well, there's the water, now what? I said, well, she worked with children. I wanted to represent children, but not with little faces or little toys. I wanted it to be still part of Evelina. And then I said, El flamboyant de Puerto Rico, as the strong tree that grows flamboyantly and then lets out all these beautiful flowers that then sets out these little flowers into the wind and covers the ground. I said, oh, El flamboyant. So the children would be little flowers of flamboyant. And that was my inspiration, basically.
And you know what? It came to life. And then of course there's this beautiful heart that is on her blouse. And I'm sure we're showing the image as we're describing it. And so the heart, is that a Taino symbol?
Yes, as a matter of fact, if any of you ever have time to go to my website, way before Evelina came to me, I had started a whole series called Healers. And this was before the madness on earth started happening, where everything is burning, there's floods everywhere. I had this feeling. I said, you know, if I bet you if we prayed enough and we get together as people on earth, we could save our planet. So I started with healers and saying, a healer, we would pray for the marshes. We would pray for the seas. We would pray for the rivers. So I did this whole series. But then as time went on, I actually said, the women in my life and women I know are healers too. And one of them is Julia de Burgos, which you will find on my webpage. Then there was Sandra Maria Esteves, who's also a healer with her words. She's a poet. And then Evelina joined the group as a civil rights activist, a mother. She's the mother of our community. So she joined my series.
Yeah, no, and you know, in our previous segment, we introduced everything that she represents. So thank you for bringing up the fact that she is a civil rights activist and who helped Puerto Rican children with school environments as well as their education. And Wally, I know that there are other artists that are part of this exhibition. Do you care to share the other participating artists that will be on display?
Sure, there are 8 others, and it's, you know, they run the gamut. They have different sensibilities, different approaches, different styles, but they had this love affair with Evelina, and you know, it's we have Antonio Martorell, who's the dean of you might say of current visual artists in Puerto Rico, Manuel Vega, who's a local brother of ours and has done wonderful work over the years, Marcos Dimas from Taller, is a veteran, Rudy Gutierrez, who illustrated a children's book that on Evelina, Nitza Tufino, the daughter of the great maestro, Siyuko Garcia. She says she characterizes herself as a survivor of Maria, not an artist. I don't know why, but she's a really good artist. Sara Morales, who's a Bronx person through and through. Maria, of course, with, you know, one of the great current muralists of our time, and Esther Pagan, who does these fanciful works. And she not only did a painting, she recreated a hat, because Evelina wore these hats, and she festooned it with cafe crema labels, because that was Evelina's favorite coffee brand.
Oh my
So,
gosh, I'm very familiar with Esther's work, so I can
yeah.
only imagine what that looks like.
Yeah. So we have a nice representation, and as I said, a variety of sensibilities and styles. But it is interesting. Maria was mentioning the flowers in her and the vegetation, independently of each other, because they didn't compare notes or anything. But there are three others who opted to include vegetation in it, and I don't know, but there's Evelina just so happens had a real good green thumb, well developed green thumb, and that theme that of vegetation being curative and restorative and all that comes through.
That's beautiful. And I know that the way you were conveying it, Maria, at least my interpretation is that you were using the flowers as a metaphor in blossoming flowers for, representing the children.
Yes, and they will now, from Rhina's work, will hopefully pass on that to their community, to other children, and remember, and then be also hopefully an activist in their community.
And so I'm going to close out with reading the phrase that you chose to incorporate in your image, and because I think it's a wonderful way to close. And these are words of Evelina that is on Maria Dominguez's portrait. It is, "They will never take us away from here. I feel very much a part of this, and I'm never going to leave. And after me, my children will be here to carry on. I have very strong children and very strong grandchildren."
That's right.
Well, we thank you both for being here. We thank you for your efforts. We are so looking forward to this wonderful festival that's going to be taking place. Once again, Wally Edgecombe, curator of Evelina's 100 art exhibition, and Maria Dominguez, who is one of the contributing artists, and the Images of Evelina art exhibition is part of Evelina Antonelli's Centennial celebration, which is set to take place. This particular part of it is set to take place September 14th at Hostos Community College in the Cafe, located at 450 Grand Concourse in the Bronx. However, the festival itself is going to be taking place September 12th through the 19th in various locations. And if you're interested in more information on that, you can visit evelinas100.org. And of course, you can also visit hostos.cuny.edu/culture arts. All right, we got to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to speak to poet and author Janeth A. Benjamin, who's highlighting father-daughter relationships in her new book, I Am My Father's Daughter. Don't go anywhere.
In conjunction with their mission of serving their community through the arts, the Mind Builders Creative Arts Center held their monthly Freestyle Friday to give current and new students a chance to hang out and share some of the work they've completed throughout the month.
What we do here pretty much is we curate an event usually every last Friday for the youth. Pretty much it's an event to kind of like have the use of the different programs, engage each other, and also just have a positive activity that they can kind of just like have fun, eat some food, and get to know each other.
During the month, students of Mind Builders take class with their peers, but Freestyle Friday allows students to bring a friend, which typically turns into new enrollment for the organization.
What happens usually is a kid that's already enrolled, they'll let their friends know, and they'll kind of like curious to see what's happening. So usually they'll bring like 2 or 3 friends with them. And so far, every event that we've done, we've always seen like a new kid in some capacity.
While some students are just looking for a fun after-school activity, there are students who want to make their art their career, which is why teacher Michael Alfred Tudor is always looking for ways to guide his students down the right path.
I'm like, hey, so and if you want to keep doing art for your career, here's some options. Like I told them about the local 829 and like, ways to make money and stuff to support if they want to live this lifestyle.
If you're a creative looking to get in on the fun, follow the link below to check out the next Freestyle Friday. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler Albain.
Welcome back. Our next guest is a freelance writer, author, and one of our past Open Artist Spotlight featured poets, a storyteller in her own right through her writing and, of course, poetry. She aims to inspire her readers to find themselves through rediscovery and reflection through self-care, acceptance, and self-awareness. In her new book, I Am My Father's Daughter, she shares a collection of stories written by powerful women globally about their relationships with their fathers, good, bad, or indifferent. And here now to share more, we welcome back to the show writer, poet, and author Janeth A. Benjamin. Hello and welcome.
Hi. It's good to see you again.
Likewise. Congratulations on this new endeavor.
Thank you.
Let's talk about this process of I Am My Father's Daughter's book launch, right? Because we're launching it, but there's a whole process which you're sharing. And I do want to open up by sharing with our viewers that this book actually consists of 23 stories from 5 different countries globally. Right? So what kind of process did that take in order to even put together?
The idea came and I sat down as a thinker and I mapped the whole thing out. I wrote up a strategy. I came up with the questions. I'm like, I don't want this to be just on the good side of things. I want people to be talking about their healing and their journey to that acceptance with relationships. One of the things I noticed, and just to take 2 steps back, I was actually editing a book for my friend when the idea came about. And I noticed that the relationship with her father changed in the story from something that was not so great to something that was great. And I was thinking, how many of us have stories like that? How many of us has different stories about our relationships? And in my own reflection, I realized that my own experience is about identity and relationships. And I think I mentioned this in the past. And these are some of the foundational relationships that really shape who we are. So father-daughter relationship is crucial. The process, after having the idea, mapping it out, I went to social media. So Instagram, Facebook groups. There are so many different Facebook groups for writers and writers. Every Facebook group I found that I could share the call for submission. It went far and wide. I tagged a lot of people in the Bronx. So many folks on the Bronx Night Market shared it in their newsletter. The Bronx is Reading shared it out. So many folks got together and helped me kind of push the word out. And then the mechanics side, it's just some Google Docs and it just set it up. They started coming in and I was like, whoa, this is actually happening. People are really, and I got emails, questions. I do have, I might say, a set of poetry because someone did ask about poetry. So I'm hoping maybe I can undertake another publication with only just poetry because, of course, we know where I stand with that. So that process was tremendous.
All
Yeah.
right, so let's take it back a little bit and let's just do a timeline factor, right? Because
Yeah.
you're giving me the logistics of it, but I want to know when you started, because here we are
Yeah.
in August of 2022, and now is when it's been published.
So April 2020 was when, around April, there about 2020 was when the light bulb went off. Started having conversations about right immediately after May, mapping out everything. I started pushing for the call around Father's Day in June of 2020. I let it run for like a month and a half. So by August of 2020, I had over 50 stories, 50 plus stories sitting there in a folder for me to comb through. Selection process ended around September of 2020. And then from then on, we went through a series of editings and things like that, cover selection, to now putting it out in July of 2022.
So how were you able to select these stories, right? Because I went through the book as you know, I skimmed through it, which I'm really looking forward to reading it. And what I noticed is that, you know, you have authors from Portland, from Scotland, from the Philippines, from Alabama, Kansas City, Maine, California. And I'm going, oh my, and the stories range, right?
Yes.
They range from childhood experiences to recreating experiences that may have even been shared with them. So how did you choose it so that it has a beginning, middle, and end?
I just chose the stories based on when I got them. There was no, I wasn't going to think about, you know, I don't know, it just kind of flowed for me. So the first story, which is my story, I put that there for a specific reason because I wanted to start in the Bronx and end in the Bronx. So that happened. But the middle was just based on submission, how they came in based on the date. So once I selected the stories and I organized them, I was like, okay, this is the order. I just put, and then when I read it, I was like, whoa, this flow just seemed to work really well. So I just went with it. I didn't change the order or anything. And that was it.
So I know you said you opened with the Bronx and you closed with the Bronx, meaning two different Bronx stories. And what the opening is yourself, which I'm looking forward to getting a taste of your story. However, before we do that, I want you to answer this. Is there a thread that you found similarities in each story? Is there something that is very common in each story that is part of this book?
There's a lot of abandonment issues that came up. There are a lot of people who experienced people leaving, not coming back, or coming back. And so there's loss, abandonment, loss. There's a lot of gratitude across the board. And there's a lot of healing. If there's a level of growth that comes with being able to tell your story, but tell it in such a way that you're accepting what the position is. And that was key with all of the stories. Like there's acceptance, there's the abandonment, the loss, the gratitude, but also a general acceptance of what it is and how they're seeing their lives despite of and in spite of any issues that might have happened in the relationships over the years.
Well, thank you for sharing that, right? And the reason I asked you that is because we always want to acknowledge that at the end of the day, no matter where you come from, we're all human. We're all human. We're all human, and we all have similar stories in different ways.
Yes.
So on that note, we want to hear your story, or at least a taste of your story.
Yes. So my dad, who, as I shared with you earlier, his main question to me was, is there a balance? And there is. And I'm a lot like my father, but I'm also like my mother too. And my brother, who has the same name as my dad, shared this quote on Instagram back in 2020 that I thought was so perfect. So that's how I started my story, with a quote from my dad. It says, "You need to keep the kingdom of yourself and your temple in a position where you can function and serve your purpose." It says, "My brother Krishna posted this on his Instagram account and I had to borrow it. Daddy wrote it. Our father has never been a regular father. I recall his absence for many periods of my life, but he showed up at some of the most important times. My mother, despite her heartbreak, never spoke poorly of him and allowed him to still be in our lives. My father has 6 children. I'm the second oldest, and my brother Daniel and I were born in the same year, 4 months apart. And I want to leave that there because there's more. So although I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, getting to know my father meant letting go of all the conventional things about fatherhood. He never subscribed to stereotypes and laughed at those who did. His intelligence is natural, and I glimpsed his charm when we worked together. His concern is about my health, and I finally get it. It took some years of lecturing, but I finally got what the big deal was about taking care of yourself. He knew and tried his hardest to help me understand. I think we're all at that crazy place where we can proudly say daddy wasn't all that crazy, but only because we understand his level of crazy, since we're all just as crazy. I marvel at the wonders of genetics and how we're all crafted with this trait so spot on. There is no denying that the apple didn't fall far from the tree, except these apples have been bearing fruit and continue to bear fruit because of one decision he made over 30-something years ago. Maybe one day I'll get the entire story, regrets and all, but for now, I am keeping the kingdom of myself and the temple in a position where I can function and serve my purpose.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janeth A. Benjamin sharing her story that is published in her book that features 23 stories in 5 countries. That was a very intimate share.
Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, in your writing, there was once again that demonstration of the humanity that exists within each and every one of us, despite our differences.
Yeah. I think one of my overall goals is for us to learn to see our parents as not just as people and not just the roles that they should play in our lives. And I think bringing that human side, like you mentioned, it really changes how we view them. And I think that's so needed in today because we have so much to heal from, especially from our parents. So
beautifully noted. And thank you for bringing it to our viewers. We are all healing collectively and through different forms. And so you guys are interested in learning more about yourself, right? Through these writings of I Am My Father's Daughter. You can get it on Amazon. And once again, that was Janeth A. Benjamin, author and publisher of I Am My Father's Daughter. And for more on Janeth, you can visit MikiChronicles.com, and you can also check her out on Instagram at Miki Chronicles. Thanks again. Stay tuned because Bobby C's weekly sports roundup is coming up next.
We begin this 5 on 5 with a look at the future. My Bronx Athlete of the Week goes to a Cardinal Hayes star on the rise. Ian Jackson was one of the youngest players in the Slam Summer Classic last weekend at Rucker Park in Harlem. TV play-by-play provided by yours truly. Shameless plug right there. But it did not stop the class of 2024 superstar in the making from putting on a show in his hometown against the top high school players in the country. Captain Jack razzled and dazzled all weekend long, and that included not just standout play in the game at Rucker, but also some shifty moves at Gaucho's gym right here in the South Bronx a day prior during the three-point and slam dunk festivities. Jackson has already received a ton of offers schools like UConn and St. John's, but I expect to see him at a powerhouse program like Duke or UNC next year. Because he's Captain Jack, of course. Ian Jackson and summer basketball take the top spot here on the front end of 5 on 5 this morning. That includes an exciting conclusion to the Hoops in the Sun Roundball Classic out at Orchard Beach. The youth teams, the Women's League, and the Men's Pro Division signing off last Sunday afternoon, highlighted by Kadar Superman Edwards taking home the MVP honors in the men's championship game between DD Sean Bell and the Brooklyn Stompers. Another thrilling summer is in the books here for some terrific summer basketball in the NYC. In the fourth spot, our weekly Aaron Judge Report, or I should just say Judge Report. The Yankee star continues his pursuit of the 60 home run mark, a number only 5 players in Major League Baseball history have ever reached. And while the single-season home run record could be a difficult number for him to attain, thank you, Mr. Barry Bonds, he could make a run at the American League record set by the late, great Yankee star Roger Maris. That number, of course, 61 in 1961. Thus far, Judge has launched 46 home runs in about 120 regular season games. Not going to be easy, but I would expect him to come very close. I mean, really close. According to projections, the most likely exact outcome at the moment is 59 home runs at 11.1%, and he has a 56.1% chance of reaching at least 59 dingers this season, according to projections. Judge remains the brightest of bright spots for the Yankees, especially in a rough month of August for the club. We shift gears from one Yankee to another here at number 3. Bronx Bomber rookie Oswaldo Cabrera has hit the major leagues and announced his late season call-up with authority, especially out in the field, where he has looked very much like Judge and Derek Jeter. Yes, indeed. Just like Jeets 18 years ago at the old Yankee Stadium, the newcomer put his body in harm's way, chasing down a foul pop that was headed towards the third base stands in the third inning of last Saturday's loss to divisional rival Toronto. Playing third base in his 4th big league game in 4 days since his first call-up from AAA Scranton, Cabrera might have topped his homer-robbing catch above the right field wall in the first inning of his first game in Pinstripes just days earlier. Who needs Judge anyway? Welcome to the show, kiddo. Your energy and play is most welcome here in the BX. In the 2 spot and on this date in Bronx sports history, another gem courtesy of the Pinstripers, looking back on some players that were also great in their early seasons with the Yankees. We hop back in our time machine and turn back the clock to August 26th, 2002 for my guy, Alfonso Soriano. Boy, oh boy, he was good back then. August 26, 2002 at the old Yankee Stadium, Soriano blasts a solo shot in the 4th inning in the team's 10-3 victory over the Texas Rangers. In doing so, he sets a team record for home runs by a second baseman for the Yankees. The previous mark of 30 was established in 1940 by Joe Gordon. Soriano, of course, would eventually be dealt for superstar Alex Rodriguez, but later returned to the Yankees for a second stint before his career was over in the bigs. A fan favorite for our fans here in the Bronx, indeed. The good old days, as they say, and on this date in Bronx sports history, courtesy of Alfonso Soriano and the Yankees. And at number 1 on the front end, another Yankee great, and one that finally gets the credit that he truly deserves. Last Sunday, the Yankees retired his number 21, making him the 23rd player or manager in the franchise's history honored in such a way. I'm talking about Paul O'Neill. Paul O'Neill Day here in the Bronx. More on his legacy in my C list. Stay tuned. To the back end of 5 on 5 we go. NASCAR heads from New York to Daytona, Florida this weekend. The Coke Zero Sugar 400 is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. This follows an exciting weekend at Watkins Glen in upstate New York last weekend, where former Formula One champion Kimi Räikkönen was making his Cup Series debut in NASCAR. Räikkönen completed 44 laps on his return to NASCAR before he was punted into the barriers and out of the race at the Glen. The 2007 F1 World Champion was making a one-off appearance in the Cup Series, driving for Trackhouse Racing's Project 91 team. That team has been set up to bring international drivers to NASCAR. As for the race itself in New York State, Kyle Larson took his first lead of the race with 5 laps remaining. Larson completed the rare weekend sweep at Watkins Glen International with a clutch win in the NASCAR Cup Series Go Bowling at the Glen on Sunday. Larson made a dramatic pass on his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Chase Elliott on a restart with 5 laps to go on the historic road course in Watkins Glen. Here's more from the winning driver.
I figured day 2 he'd be a little bit more aggressive behind me than yesterday, but thankfully our car was good enough I could gap him.
Meantime, IndyCar is off this weekend following another win for Joseph Newgarden last weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway. The series returns in Portland in 2 weeks. Only 2 more races to go in IndyCar. Off the summer break, Formula One returns this weekend with the Belgian GP Sunday at 9 a.m. here in the States. At 2, the Yanks continue their road weekend series in Oakland out west after playing the Mets at the stadium earlier this week in the Subway Series Part 2. Meanwhile, the Mets continue their home weekend series with the Colorado Rockies out in Flushing, Queens. The Amazons come in here at number 3. At 4, the Giants and Jets renew their preseason rivalry at MetLife Stadium this Sunday. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff, and the Jets are the home team on paper. That will conclude the preseason for the 2 New York football teams, outside of the Buffalo Bills, of course. The regular season opener is just around the corner in early September. And at 5, the WNBA semifinals start this weekend. Been exciting to see the New York Liberty in the first round of the playoffs, even with a rough start in that series. We are getting closer to crowning a champion in the WNBA. We hit the C-list for a tribute to a champion here in the Bronx. Last Sunday's number retirement for the Yankees was drastically different from others that have been at the stadium in recent years, not only because Paul O'Neill isn't vaccinated against COVID-19, but also because the Pinstripers entered with 14 losses in their past 18 games on Sunday. That led to boos for Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman. Now, some of that may not be fair since the Yankees still sport a terrific record this season, but to me it got me thinking about how special the last dynasty was. How incredibly special it was. A dynasty that really began with the additions of Jimmy Key, Wade Boggs, and Paul O'Neill. Adding that trio to a mix that included Bernie Williams and Don Mattingly, and then later homegrown players like Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, and Mariano Rivera set the tone for a time in Yankees history that may never be matched. Honestly, the Yanks were able to squeeze one more title out of that core in 2009, but the reality is the Pinstripers' last reign of true dominance came from 1996 until 2001. That's when the Warrior roamed in right field for the Yankees. A 4-time World Series champion as a Yankee, O'Neill was nicknamed the Warrior by the late, great owner, George Steinbrenner. O'Neill said during the ceremony, open quote, "The fans remember the teams that win, and we won a lot," close quote. Yes, you did, Paul, and you were at the center of it during that entire stretch. O'Neill hit .303 with 185 home runs and 858 RBIs for the Yankees from 1993 until 2001, hanging him up after that great World Series with the Diamondbacks. He was a 4-time All-Star with the team and won the 1994 American League batting title during a strike-shortened season. That could have been another World Series year for the Yankees and that group. He wore number 21 for his entire big league career, starting as a rookie with the Cincinnati Reds in 1985. And now, no other Yankee player will ever wear it again. Gene Michael and Buck Showalter changed the climate in that locker room by bringing O'Neill from the Reds to the Bronx in 1993, a trade for Roberto Kelly, who was a big-time player up and coming with the Yankees at the time. In turn, O'Neill helped make the Yankees great again. Tip of the cap to number 21. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
After an exceptional kickoff week, the Orchard Beach Summer Concert Series is back in full swing for week 2. Guests were treated to 2 performances by Johnny Mambo and Friends and Hip Hop Ibarito.
This is a tradition of the Office of the Bronx Borough President. Everyone that comes to Orchard Beach every year expects these concerts. So we do not want to disappoint. We want to make sure that we come back bigger and stronger than ever for this year.
Of course, the Summer Concert Series are a treat for the artists as much as they are for the guests, as they have the chance to showcase their musical talent with the people who support them most.
I'm all about preserving culture. I love the Bronx. I'm all about representing, the Nuyorican culture from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, from all of New York. And it's so grateful to be that guy, to be representing, preserving the cultura, that modern salsa.
Aside from the day's exceptional performances, Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson was thrilled to discuss the new $90 million investment toward Orchard Beach, which will be used to revamp the pavilion and, even more exciting, the bathrooms.
I want to acknowledge the renovations that will be happening here at Orchard. Almost $100 million here at the pavilion, a new ADA ramp. We're going to have new vendors. We're going to have some Bronx swag. I can't wait.
Be sure to soak up the last few weeks of summer fun by heading to the main stage every Sunday at Orchard Beach for the 2022 Summer Concert Series. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler Albane.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Open Hybrid. Our last guest is a Bronx native musician on the rise, musically trained since the age of 12. His sounds are a mix of pop, soul, and rock, and his passion for music has led him to performing in local venues, spreading the message of love for oneself and others, and he's here to share more. Please welcome singer, songwriter, and musician Danny Love.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, and we'll assume that you've adopted the name Danny Love as a means of spreading love for oneself and affirming that every time somebody calls your name.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
And I'm saying that just to kind of like ease into the just that mindfulness in the way you're operating. I mean, based on everything that I've read with regards to your style, your intent, and even the genres, right? What you're doing really is like, from what I experienced, is you're like chanting out into the universe, like, hey, this is the way we need to be.
Yeah, it's with the genres, pop, soul, rock, they've always had a message of constant, just getting the message out there. No matter what they were trying to say, no matter what they were trying to convey, it's just to get the message out there. And specifically in rock, there's a genre called grunge, in which I'm a person. I think grunge has to be my favorite subgenre of rock. And one thing, Pearl Jam, Foo Fighters,
I know Pearl Jam.
Yeah, it's Pearl Jam. I think like from Jeremy to 10 to all these beautiful songs that they've created, and the powerhouse vocals is my focus. And ever since I was 12, when I first started to sing, because most people start singing at the age of 2 or 3. I started very late. It was like 12. Didn't really have much confidence until 14, and it was like, okay, no problem. I'll try to convey it. And I didn't even start writing until I was like 21, 22. So I didn't really get any of myself out there. I just wanted to do covers all the time. And one beautiful thing about it is once I got my first song out there and people heard it, they were like, this is powerful. You need to do more stuff like this. And I was like, great, and it gave me way more confidence. Mama's Love was very recent, which is a song that, of course, hopefully I get to present to you. But it's just one of those things where it's like, like I just really, really want to convey this powerful message of love. Love yourself, love others, love, like, and don't give up on your dreams. Like it's just inspirational things, things that you have to chant to yourself constantly to say, you know what, I got this. I can do this. This is me, like, and I want to convey that to the world. I have a lot of influences, a lot of people that have invested in me and literally poured into me all the time. And it's just been such a pleasure to ride this roller coaster of artistry and emotions. Yeah.
Especially now in what we've all endured collectively, right? I know prior to getting on air, we were having a conversation with regards to mental health and mental
Yes.
wellness. And really it starts with just being aware, right? And the one thing I will say that at least has been brought into light is the destigmatization of anyone even realizing that perhaps they can use some kind of assistance and or therapy and or find outlets to use as their own form of therapy. And I recall you mentioning how music has been that like solace for you.
Of course. I think, mentioning therapy, I think therapy is extremely important. And even if, people say, oh, I don't need therapy, I don't believe in therapy. I think therapy is one of the most important outlets somebody can have to this day.
I need to say that because I think it's so important that people understand that just speaking it out, right, is its own form of therapy, right? So even if you don't go and seek professional help, the therapy comes from releasing it from your body.
Of course.
And we've reached that place. And I want to say just as not only as a community, as a nation, where we need to have these conversations.
It's really important. I think, there's such a stigmatism that mental health is, and I thank God for the progress that we're making, but at the same time, I don't think it's fast enough. I think people have to realize that yes, mental health is a thing, that we need to take care of ourselves in our mindset and have a growth mindset when it comes to actually experimenting with mental health institutions, with certain outlets, with certain people that can help us, who are offering these services simply because they want you to be better. And I hopefully my music can convey that, that you're enough, that you're good, you're just get the help you need. And if you think you don't need any help, at least take care of yourself. That's what I'm trying to convey with my music.
No, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I get it, right? So the thing is that as we all continue to like join forces in basically making this the primary topic of discussion and understanding, like we each as individuals, you need to be well. I need to be well, because if we're not well, then that's just gonna be that's what's going to grow, right? It's like you feed the monster, that's going to grow. And right now, the objective is for all of us to collectively hone in and focus on love and light. And to some, it comes across as being like just a word, but it really carries so much power and energy behind it. That the fact that you've chosen to be very deliberate in the way you're writing your songs, and not even necessarily choosing one genre over the other, but it's really about the messaging.
Yes. I think that the reason why love was chosen, it was actually chosen for me, believe it or not. And I just want everybody to be loved. The reason why it was chosen for me is because of that very sentiment about having people experience love. And I keep repeating the word because for those of you who are hearing this, for those of you who are, it's a pleasure for me to be on here. And for those of you who are hearing this, you're loved, and you deserve to be loved. And one of the things that really caught my attention about the topic of love since the beginning is the fact that I was a church kid growing up. I always I'm still a church kid. I don't even know
Hi,
why
I was
said
gonna
was a
say,
church
don't you
kid.
still perform in
Like,
church too?
I was like, but I say church kid because it's become more of a relationship with God than just going to church and singing and one of the things that I've realized is the powerful force of treating people with kindness throughout all these opportunities to sing in church, to encourage people, because at the end of the day, people don't always remember the words you say, but they will remember how you treated them.
Right, because people always walk away with what they felt.
Yes.
And the exchange.
Yes. Of course. I think it's extremely important that people feel that.
I think it's important that we keep having these conversations of how important it is to even be aware of it.
Of course. It's really important that for those of you who will get to know me throughout the journey, it's very important that I'm not only saying this in a place where I want to advocate for mental health, but I myself deal with certain things mentally that, of course, I want to be an example. I don't just want to be someone that says, oh, you can do this, this, and this, and this. No, I do this, this, and this for me to take care of myself. And of course, when you come out, when you see me, when you say hi to me, I will try my very best every time to show the love and kindness that I am trying to represent here right now. And I say try because we all have our bad days. We all have our bad days.
Listen, we're human.
We're human.
But I love that we're having this conversation, and I love that you're just really putting it all out there and coming from a transparent place of saying, hey, music has been my way to my own self-care, right?
Of course.
Because that is your gift to us, but it's also your gift to you.
Yes.
And I gotta say, it's been a wonderful conversation with you. And we are out of time. I'm sorry about that, but we're gonna have more of you in a moment because you're gonna convey your love through the music that you created, and he's gonna share that with us, you guys. So don't go anywhere, because when we return, Danny Love, he's gonna perform for us after the break. You don't want to miss.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Hey everyone, and welcome back here now to perform Mama's Love. Let's give it up for Danny Love.
Love is power. Love is warm. Love will give you strength in the middle of the storm. Love is able in any circumstance. Love is forgiveness. Here's your second chance. Love. One day at a time, my mama would say. One day at a time, eat, love, and pray. One day at a time, my mama would say. One day at a time, eat, love, and pray. One day at a time, my mama would say. One day at a time.
Love, love, love. That was Danny Love, and you can catch him every Tuesday at the open mic at Unbeatable Buck at 238th Street in Riverdale. And for more information, you can check him out on IG at Danny Love Forever. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recable cast tonight and 24 hours a day at BronxNet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. Adios.